Dear students, welcome to our YouTube channel Vidya for Success. In this video, let us study the subclassification of bryophytes. Yes, we have some of the economic importance from bryophytes. So, bryophytes are the first land plants raised on the earth. So, these plants are little advanced compared to the algae, because we have seen the members of algae are habited to water. They are primitive in their habitat, but bryophytes are the first land plants raised without any vascular tissue. So these plants are very useful to us. So there are few economic importance we can see in the bryophyte. So one of the use is some bryophytes are used as a food by herbivorous mammals, birds and other animals. So we know bryophytes are autotrophic plants, so they prepare their own food material and also they store the food in their tissues. So some herbivorous animals they feed on these plants, so that bryophytes, some species of bryophytes, especially mosses, are used as a food by some of the herbivorous animals. Then one more use is sphagnum. So sphagnum is actually a moss. This is a plant belong to bryophyte category. It provides peat that have long been used as fuel. So in the earlier days, what the people used to do is they used to dry the sphagnum plant. So after that, uh, they get peat. So peat is actually used as a fuel long back. So you just see in this diagram, in this picture, the first picture is the sphagnum plant. So after drying it, it provide peat. So peat can be burnt and it can be used as a fuel. So this is the economic importance what we are getting by sphagnum in the earlier days. Then one more use what we are getting by the sphagnum is sphagnum also used to pack living material during transshipment. Suppose you are transporting some of the living material like stem, flower, or any living part of the plant or some animal. If you are not properly covered it, it is going to be dry. That means it will lose its freshness. So in order to intact the freshness of the living material, they will pack that living material by using sphagnum. So sphagnum is having water holding capacity, so that it will retain the moisture content in the living material, so that the living material during transshipment are packed with the help of sphagnum. Then the one more very important economic important is bryophytic plants play very important role in plant succession on bare rocks or soil. So these are the plants they rise first on the land. So some species they also grow on the surface of rock. So these are the first plant they start degrading the rock into small soil particle, so that they give space for the growth of other plant species, so that the plant succession, that means the formation of new species of plant, started from the first land plant on the earth, that is bryophytes. So these are the few economic importance uses what we are getting by bryophytic plant. And the one more this thing is use is bryophytes usually grow on the moist soil. So and when they form in large number, they will just form a mat on the surface of soil. So this will also prevent the soil erosion. That means they will grow in the form of mat on the surface of soil, so that when there is a heavy rain, it does not let the soil to drain away. It will hold the soil, so that soil erosion is also get avoided by the growth of bryophytes. Understood? So these are the few economic importance from bryophytic plants. Yes, in our last video, children, we have studied the general characteristic features of bryophytes. So, based on certain characteristic features, the bryophytes are divided into different category. That means the bryophytes are again subclassified into different groups. So what are those subclassification? So bryophytes are actually classified into two types. So we have three different categories, but here they have given two types. So one of the type is liverworts. So based on what these plants are divided. So no, as I told you, the plants in the bryophytes, they are not same in their appearance. That means not all kinds of bryophytes are same in their external appearance. So some of the thallus is uh, dorsiventrally flat, and some of the plants are erect in their growth. So based on the certain characteristic features, actually the bryophytes are classified into two types. So liverworts are the bryophytes. Their thallus is dorsiventrally flat. That means it is not growing erect on the surface of soil. Instead of that, it just grow creeping on the surface of soil. Understood? So it just creep on the surface of soil. So its plant body, that means its thallus is dorsiventrally flat on both the surface, dorsal surface as well as ventral surface is very flat, just like a paper. Clear? So it is also compared with the lobes of liver. So how the liver lobe is present in the animal, the similar structures we can see in the thallus of liverworts. So that it is called as liverworts. The structure is compared with the structure of liver lobes. So that these some of the group of bryophytes are placed under the liverworts. So the main category here is the thallus nature. Then the another type is mosses. So mosses actually show upright upright plant structure. So here it is showing stem like structure, leaf like structure. Clear? So if their plant body is erect, they are placed under the mosses category. Understood? So this is what the one this thing uh, differences I told you. So there are other characteristic differences we also have between liverworts and mosses. So that we will study in the next slide. So now we have understood that bryophytes are classified into two types. One of the category is liverworts and another one is mosses. Yes, now let us study about liverworts. So liverworts are the plants where their thallus is just appears like lobes of liver. So you can just observe in the picture. So the thallus is showing the lobe like structure. So because of the lobe like structure what we can see, it is compared with the structure of liver, so that this group of bryophytes are named as liverworts. Clear? And these are closely attached with the substratum. So you can't notice the stem like structure here. So everything what is visible, that is appearing like flat leaf. Understood? So where do we find these group of plants? So liverworts commonly grow in moist soil, shady habitats such as banks of streams, marshy ground, deep in woods, etc. So these are the few habitat where we can find the presence of liverworts. So actually they prefer moist and shady places for their growth. So where the moisture content is more, where the water content is there, in that region we can see the growth of liverworts. So plant body of liverworts is thalloid. So why we are calling it as a thalloid? So nothing is distinct here, right? There is no stem, there is no uh, true leaf, there is no true root, because there is no vascular tissue. So when the vascular tissue is not present, uh, those parts are not actually considered to be a root, stem and leaf. So there is no distinct plant parts here. So because when we are not able to differentiate the plant parts into leaf, root, and stem, such a plant is called as thalloid. So, the plant body in the liverwort is thalloid. So, the best example of the liverwort we have here is Marchantia. So, this is the Marchantia what we are observing in this picture. So, this is placed under liverwort category. And thallus is dorsiventrally flat. So, on both the surface, on the dorsal surface as well as on the ventral surface, the thalloid is flat. Because of that, it is closely attached to the substratum. So, whatever may be the substratum, it may be soil or it may be rock, when it is growing on the surface of those substratum, it appears like it is closely attached with the substratum, because you can't observe the stem like structure here. So, everything is looking like a flat leaf, so that they appears to be, they are closely attached to the substratum. And the leafy members have tiny leaf-like appendages. So, some species of liverworts show the presence of leaf structures. That means tiny leaves will be present in some members of liverworts. So, those are called as leafy appendages. Clear? So, there are some leaf members are there. They show the small leaf-like structures, and those are here called as leaf-like appendages. Yes, here we have some of the examples of liverworts. So, the best example is Marchantia. This is the picture of Marchantia. You can clearly observe children's lobe-like structure in the thallus. Because of this lobe-like structure, it is compared with the structure of liver. So, it is commonly called as liverworts. And the one more example is Rixia. This is the Rixia. So, just you compare the plant thallus in both these examples, they are looking similar. That means both these kinds of plants are showing the similar kind of thallus. So, because of this kind of thallus, they are placed under the liverworts. And in the liverworts, we also have the plants, they are showing the leaf like appendages. Clear? So, these are the few examples of liverworts. And let us move to the reproduction in the liverworts. So, they reproduce us asexually by means of fragmentation. So, fragmentation we have already come across many in many of the plants and animals. So, fragmentation is a very simple mode of asexual reproduction, where the parental body divides into number of pieces, and each fragment or pieces develops into a new thallus. So, that is what the fragmentation. And some of the plants during their asexual reproduction, they produces spores. So, those are named as gamete. So, gamete are green multicellular asexual buds which develop in small receptacle called gamma cups. So, these bodies, asexual bodies, can be seen in Marchantia. So, just have a look into the Marchantia plant. So, on the surface of thallus, you can notice a small cup-like structure. So, these are called as a receptacle. So, these receptacles are named as gamma cups. Understood? And within the gamma cups, there are multicellular green color buds will be present. So, those buds are named as gamete. Understood? So, gametes are actually asexual reproductive propagules. So, they will get detached from the thallus, parental thallus, and they develops and they give rise to new thallus. Understood? So, asexual reproduction is takes place by two different methods. Commonly, it takes place by means of fragmentation, and some of the members during their asexual reproduction they produces gamete. So, you have to understand the definition of gamete here. So, gamete are green multicellular asexual buds which develop in a small receptacle called gamma cup. So, you have to remember these terminologies, gamete, gamma cups. So, these are important when you come to the asexual mode of reproduction. Then they also produces sexually by forming gametes. So, during their sexual reproduction, they produces sex organs. So, in some of the members, male and female sex organ produces on the same thallus. And in some of the members, male thallus is separate, female thallus is separate. Only the male thallus produces male sex organ, and female thallus produces female sex organ. Clear? That is depends on the kind of species. So Markantia is the best example of uh, plant where we can see separate male thallus and separate female thallus. So here you can notice the presence of male sex organ and female sex organ. So the first labeling you observe, so the first labeling, that is actually gametophytic plant. The main plant in the bryophyte we are calling as gametophytic plant, because the function of gametophytic plant is it produces gametes. So for the formation of gametes, it forms sex organs. So the second labeling, if you observe in this diagram, that is antheridium. Antheridium is actually what? Male sex organ. And on the same thallus, in the diagram you can observe, that forms one more sex organ, that is archegonium. Archegonium is the female sex organ. What is the shape of archegonium? Flask shape. Understood? So these structure, these sex organs are actually embedded within the tissues. They are very small microscopic structures. So these sex organs are meant for the formation of gametes. You can observe in the diagram. Observe in the diagram. So these gametes, male and female gametes, they undergo fusion. Understood, right? So in next step what they will do is they will undergo fusion. So after their fusion, zygote develops into a sporophytic plant. So this is also you can notice in the flower bracket I have shown you the sporophytic plant. On the same thallus, on the gametophytic plant itself, you can notice the formation of sporophytic plant. So why the sporophyte is developed from the zygote? Yes, for the formation of what? Spores. Because in all the plants we can see two distinct phases. One is gametophytic phase and another one is sporophytic phase. So here, after the zygote formation, the plant leads to the formation of sporophytic structure. So in the sporophytic plant, we can label some of the parts. So base of the sporophyte is known as foot. That means it helps in the attachment of sporophytic plant with the thallus, gametophytic plant. And then the elongated stalk-like structure, what you can observe in the sporophytic this thing is seta. Clear? Long stalk-like structure, that is seta. And seta terminates with a receptacle that is called as capsule. Understood? So sporophyte differentiated into foot, seta and capsule. So within the capsule, we can see the formation of spores. So spores are formed, they are produced within the capsule. So these spores disperse from the thallus and they germinate in the soil and they again give rise to the formation of gametophytic plant. So this is what the uh, life cycle of liverwort. Understood? So these things we have already discussed in the general characteristic features, but when you come to the characteristic feature of liverworts, so you have to understand the nature of sporophyte, whether it is a free living or it is depends on the gametophytic. These things you have to make clear in your mind. Understood, right? Yes, I will repeat it once again. So during sexual reproduction, the liverwort produces gametes. Clear? So gametes will be produced where? Within the sex organs. So male sex organs as well as female sex organ. In some species produces in the same thallus, same gametophytic plant, and in some species male plant is separate, female plant is separate. Best example is what? Markantia. So in this diagram we can see both the sex organ produced on the same thallus itself. Understood, right? So antheridium is a male sex organ, produces male gamete. Male gamete is named as anthrozoid, that is motile in nature, and female gamete produces within the archegonium, That female gamete is named as what? Egg. Understood? The male gamete swim in water and reaches the female gamete. So the fusion takes place. So as a result of fusion, it leads to the formation of zygote. And zygote develops into sporophyte, sporophytic plant. So the sporophytic plant can be differentiated into three different parts. One is foot, seta, another one is capsule. So capsule is the part where we can see the spores. Spore formation takes place in the capsule. So all the spores are haploid in their nature, so that they will disperse from the capsule and they will germinate and develop into new gametophytic plant. So this is what the sexual reproduction in liverworts.